Hey guys, here we have our 1.6 notes and it's all about modeling with equations. The first problem says a pasture is twice as long as its width. So if this is your pasture, let's call this one the width and let's call this one the length. Well, if the width is called x, or the value of the width is x, the value of the length will be 2x. Now, its area is 115,200 square feet. How wide is the pasture? In other words, we're looking for W, also called X in this specific case. So to find the area, we do length times the width. But in terms of X, I would say is X times 2X. And apparently is equal to 115,200 square feet. This tells us that 2x squared is equal to 115,200. Divide both sides by 2 to get x squared is equal to 57,600. X is therefore equal to the square root of 57,600, which is equal to 240. So you will say is 240 feet wide. Let's go ahead and look at the second problem. The second problem says a manufacturer of soft drink advertises their orange soda as a natural flavor, although it only contains 5% orange juice. A new federal regulation stipulates that to be called natural, a drink must contain at least 10% fruit juice. How much pure orange juice must this manufacturer add to 900 gallons of orange soda to conform to the new regulation? Now, let's start with the 5%. The 5%, and we have the 100% and the 10%. I'm making a little table here. Let's start with the amount of liquid. Amount of liquid. In the 5%, we want a 900 gallons, so I'll put 900 gallons here. We need to add the 900 gallons to this. To the 100%, I'll call it X, and here it would be Y. Well, 5% means actually 0.5 or 0.05. So 0.05 times X, here would be times 900, plus X, meaning 1, 100% is 1. Let me put a plus here. So I'm dividing this like this. And the sign in between here is equal, of course. And I will put 0.10y. In other words, I have 5% of some type of drink, and I want a total of 900 gallons. I'll need to add some pure soda. That's why I call it 100%. And I don't know how much I need to add. That's what I'm looking for. And at the end, I want a 10%, and this is what I will be getting at the end. Well, at this point, I got two different equations. The first equation here is 900 plus X will give me the total amount of drink that I will have. The second equation will be 0.05 times 900 plus X will give me 0.10y. From here, you can use different ways to solve it. I'll suggest you use your calculator actually. You solve for y here, solve for y here, and find the intersection. To solve for y on top, it's done already. So on the bottom, I will divide by 0.10, divide everything by 0.10. And using your calculator, on the y1, you will have 900 plus x. And on the y2, you will have, I will go ahead and put a fraction line here, and I will have 0.05 times 900 and plus x, and divide everything by 0.10. This specific case, I'll use zoom 0 so that I can see the intersection. And the zoom 0 will give me this, and also that will be the first line, and this. Obviously, the intersection is somewhere far on the right. So I will change my window, increase my X max to, I don't know, let's say 500. Why not? And increase my Y max to maybe 1,000. And this is now what I get. I can see my intersection here. So all I need to do is second trace, and after second trace I need 5 for intersection, and all I need to do is enter, and it will give me 5950. So how many gallons? X is equal to 50. So that's how many gallons I will need. And if they were asking me for what's the total amount, that would be 900, and it was 950 total. All right, let's go look at problem number 3. What quantity of 6% acid solution must be mixed with 30% solution to produce 300 milliliters of a 50% solution? Just like I did before, I will start by writing 60% here, at 30% here, because I need to combine these two to get a total of 50% at the end. We start with a 60, we mix with a 30 to get a total of 50. Well, for this one, I will have, of course, an X amount of the 60, a Y amount of the 30, but I know that the total that I need is 300 milliliters. So I put 300 here. That would give me my first equation. My second equation would be 0.60 times the amount of this plus 0.30 times Y will give me at the end 0.50 times 300. Let's go ahead and write down those equations. By the way, these are plus and this is equal. The first equation is X plus Y is equal to 300. And the second equation is 0.6X plus 0.3Y is equal to 0.5 times 300. I don't want to calculate it, so I leave as 0.5 times 300. From here, you have multiple ways of solving it. The top one, we used graphing. But on this specific one, if you remember, I would prefer to use the matrix. I will form two matrices. The first matrix will be 1, 1, 300, 0.6, 0.3, and whatever this is. So if you solve it correctly with the matrix, you will end up with the answer 200 and 100. Now, your answer, of course, is your X value, which will be 200 milliliters, because we're looking for what quantity of 60%. If we were looking for what quantity of 30%, the answer would have been 100. On problem number 4, it says Eric can mow the lawn in 2 hours, and Jordan could probably mow the lawn in 3 hours. If she ever tried, of course. If they work together, how long will it take them to mow the lawn together? This is a very typical equation. We will start by the time of Eric, which is 1 over 2, plus 1 over the time for the other one, is equal to 1 over the combined time that I will call T or X. It's up to you. From here, you will find you can multiply everything by, it's up to you. You can multiply, you can cross multiply, you do what you feel like is right for you. But what I prefer to do is actually find the common denominator here. That'll be 3 plus 2 over 6 is equal to 1 over T. So that's 5 here. If you cross multiply, you get 5t. It will lead to 5t or 5x is equal to 6. So t is equal to 6 over 5, which is by 1.2. So the total time for both will be 1.2 hours. And 1.2 hours is actually 1 hour. And 0.2 of an hour, you do 0.2 times 60, you should get 12 minutes. All right, let's go on to the next one. A jet flew from New York to Los Angeles, a distance of 4,200 kilometers. The speed for return trip was 100 kilometers faster than the outbound speed. If the total trip took 13 hours, what does the jet speed from New York to Los Angeles? Let's start with speed. Let's call the speed from New York to Los Angeles X. We will call this one X, and we will call the speed from LA to New York will be 100 kilometers more. That will be X plus 100. That's the first thing you need to know. The second thing is you need to know that distance is equal to RT, or time is equal to distance over the rate. Now, if you note, the distance between the two cities will not change, so that distance remains the same. So I can say this. If the total trip took 13 hours, the trip that took 13 hours, I would say 13 hours is therefore equal to 4,200 over X plus 4,200 over X plus 100. That would be my equation. This is the time that it took from New York to Los Angeles. This is the time that it took from Los Angeles to New York. At this point, you can solve for X, and let's go ahead and solve for X. I can solve it graphically. I can put this one on the Y1, this one on the Y2, and solve it. So Y1 being 13, Y2 being all this. Why don't we do it together? So on the Y1, just a second. Let's do this. On the Y1, what I will do is I will put this whole equation, which is, as you see, I put on the Y1 the 13, on the Y2 I put the whole right side. So what I will do is zoom 0. I'll make it fit on my screen, and this is what I see. Here's the first line in blue, and the second line is in red. Note that my goal is just to find the intersection. So I will do second trace 5, enter, enter, enter. Okay, still searching. It's taking a good time to search. Since it's taking a little long to come up, what I will do is I will change my window. Under my window, I'll make it X minimum being -10, X max being about 10,000, Y minimum -5, Y max 15. So I will graph it now, and this is what I will see. Now my goal is to find the intersection, so I will do second trace 5, enter, 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 and the intersection is at 613. Now going back to my paper, that means I have 613. Well, this tells me that it will have 600 kilometers per hour. So that's my speed. Now, my goal is to find what was the jet speed from New York to Los Angeles, meaning from New York to LA. Well, it was X speed. X is equal to 4,200 divided by 600. And I can find that will be the distance over the speed. That will give me that time again. So instead of doing this, look what I will do. I will start by saying 4,200 is equal to rate times the time. And I can also say, but I actually don't need to go any further because I found X already. This is it. That's all you need to know. Well, I was going to do a different way, trying to solve this one by hand, but remind me in class, I can do it in class for you. I want to hit this, the hardest problem, which is the lowest one. I won't even I don't think it's the hardest one, but let's try it. This one says, I will let you read and I will start working the problem. All right, now that you have read it, here are some key information. The bird is released from A and is traveling to D. So this is the starting point and this is the end point. Well, this is the water, and down here we have the land. So if the bird is flying from B to C, that will be flying on the land, or C to D, that's the land. Well, obviously, we know that the bird gonna fly on the water and the land. So we assume that from A to C, that will be therefore on the water, and from C to D will be the land. Let's start by knowing that this is right. So we know that this is 5, and let's call this little portion x. If this is 5 and this is x, using the Pythagorean theorem, I would say this is the square root of 25 plus x squared. So the water distance is equal to square root of 25 plus x squared. Let's do the same thing now for the length. To find the distance on the line, if from B to D is 12, it means that from C to D will be 12 minus x. So I have 12 minus x will be the distance, or the length distance. All right, now that we have the distance, let's go ahead and figure out. Our goal is to figure out where should the point C be located so that the bird uses exactly 170 kilocalories of energy during its flight. Note that it takes more energy. It uses 10 kilocalorie miles flying over land and 10 kilocalorie miles flying over the water. So 14 for the water, 10 for the land. So I would say 10 times, we're trying to get to 170 calories. So 10 times the distance that it traveled on the land, meaning 12 minus x, plus the distance traveled on the water times the number of calories it takes, square root of 25 plus x squared. All right, so if I subtract 170 from both sides, I will get 0 is equal to 10. This is a minus here. I'll have 10 times 12 minus x plus 14 square root of 25 plus x squared minus 170. I guarantee you it is easier to actually use the calculator on this. If you use your calculator, y1, y2, you should end up with x is equal to 3.75 miles, and y is equal to, or x equal to 6.67. Now, once you get these two, check if it works. If I plug in 375 here, it works. And will it add up here? I have 375, 670. Okay, actually it's and, not all. If I add them two, 375, 670. Okay, looks good to me once you add. Now, next thing I should do is, now that I have my two answers, I should say we have 3 points. Let me write in different column. Now be 3.7. By the way, I'm answering A, question A. 3.75 miles from B, or 6.67 miles from B. Let's go ahead and answer the next question, meaning B. To answer B, B says, does the bird have enough energy to fly directly from A to D? Well, to fly directly from A to D, meaning this distance that I will be making, this green distance, I'll first use the Pythagorean theorem to find that dotted green line. And using the Pythagorean theorem, this dotted green line would be, I have 12, 5, that's the spatial right, that'll be 13. So to fly directly is flying all in the above the water, and it used 14 kilocalories per miles over the water. So I will do 14 times the whole 13, which is the distance, and this gives me 182 kilocalories. Obviously, the bird only has 170, so the answer is no.